Hello and welcome to the Dad and Barry podcast. My name is Mike, aka Dad and Barry, and I am joined by my co-host Pete,
The
aka.
one and only Pete.
Do you have an
know
AKA?
me.
Do you have a
Yeah,
web name, a pseudonym?
Peter.
Oh, that's great. I
Perhaps you've
love.
heard of me.
We
You know
are.
what? You have not heard of me. Do
No,
you know
no one
why?
has.
Do you know why, Mike? Do you know why?
Because
It's
you're
called the
not
Great
online.
Vindication. Because I'm not on social media, everybody.
Well, you
That's
were
right.
on Parlor
Suck it.
you were on
Yeah,
Parlor until they shut it down.
that's right. Until they got my exact location. No, that is
You
not
actually
right.
now you have. It's one of the many things you have in common with outgoing President Donald Trump. You're not on social media.
That is correct. Although unlike our former president, hopefully soon to be former president in a matter of hours.
Hopefully, it's amazing.
Uh,
We have to say hopefully.
I know it's crazy. And I share the same thing, which except for we took two different paths. I took a path of this looks really creepy and I don't like it back in
Yeah.
2007 in that boardroom, and he was like, I'm fucking so into this, I am going to destroy the world with it. So,
And then it was banned.
potato,
We
whatevs.
we are recording this on inauguration eve. We're
Mm.
hoping by the time Thursday or Friday comes along, whenever this gets up, we will still have a country. We will have a new president. We are, as Peter said,
Whoa,
very hopeful.
my alias.
It's been a long 4 years, and you know what? It's been a long January 2021, and not only because there was an insurrection and because we're desperate for Biden to take office, but also because I am 3 weeks into dry January.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you're 3 weeks due in 3 weeks.
I am. I'm doing 3 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Look at you in the water.
Somebody asked me what I've
my
been
God.
drinking in place of beer, and I said, literally, aside from like one bottle of Diet Dr. Pepper I had like 10 days ago, water and coffee. That's it.
That's good, actually. That's good.
Well,
Good
one
for
of my
you.
resolutions.
Can I recommend something, though?
What's that?
Spice up your water. Go seltzer, my man. Seltzer, the
I did
bubbles. It's water 2.0. It's so much better than just regular old boring
I did
water.
that
Clean,
years
fresh
ago.
water that we get every day.
Years and years ago, I did that because I worked at like a software company in Waltham, Massachusetts, and it was like an internet company, and you had free reign of like a snack cabinet, and they had tons of seltzers, and I would drink those.
And they were like, Mike, stop. No.
No, it was before
Take
the
that out of your
bubble burst.
mouth.
All
Get
they
down
did
from
was-
there.
All
What
they
are you
did was
doing?
give free stuff, free snacks all day long,
Yeah.
and I availed myself of the water. I'm not really into the seltzer water. I thought you were gonna say like one of those squeezy juice things you can like
Oh my
squeeze.
God, get the fuck out of here.
I've never
Why would
had
I? Because I'm not 5, you're not 5. Why would
Do
you
you
have
have
a
a-
little squeezy juice in your water? Get a flavored seltzer, dude. Do you know that black cherry exists? Black
I
cherry
do like
seltzer exists
black cherry.
actively in the market.
Do you have a Soda Stream?
Look at me. I'm
I know
wearing a
you-
lumberjack
Of
shirt.
course you do.
I live in Brooklyn. Of course I have a goddamn soda stream. It was issued to me, for God's
So-
sakes.
Well, it's one of the products that has come up recently as we try to like get a little healthier this year after the debauchery of the last 10, 11 months. And basically that's why I'm doing dry January, which is not because I'm going to be like
You're gonna
dry
be
all
so
year.
ripped.
I'm trying to reset my baseline. Like it was like 10 months of just balls to the wall disgustingness. I'm trying to reset
First
my
of all,
baseline
when
so
you
I can
say
start
balls
over.
to the wall, I believe it actually means your balls were on the wall for a
So, well,
large
at
part of
points
it.
they were. At points they were. It was a
Yeah.
tough 10 months. So
Yeah.
we've discussed the Soda Stream. We've discussed an air fryer. Do you have an air fryer?
No, I don't know what that is. I
Yeah.
think I've heard of it, but it sounds like
It's like a
Emerald
it's like
Lagasse, 2 a.m.
no.
I'm on high on meth. I don't.
It's a healthier way to like fry food, right? Like it's not actual frying. It's supposed to be cool. I don't really know that much what it looks like. I imagine it's kind of like a toaster oven that does more high-tech stuff, but people love it, especially if you make chicken nuggets and fries for your kids a lot. which
Okay.
we do 4
Well,
times
what-
a week.
What's up with just like a hot, like electric oven coil just cooking your chicken
Well,
nuggets?
we do that.
Why
We
do you
do
need the air to like also
Well,
fry your chicken
people-
nuggets?
People swear by it. They say it's healthier. They say it tastes great. Anyway, one
Oh,
of my
did you say
resolutions-
people? Oh,
People,
okay.
yeah.
For a second, I thought it wasn't super, like,
It
on
was
the
for
record.
cats. One of my resolutions was to drink more water, and because I never ever drink water, like ever.
There's water in the
Um,
air. God damn it. I mean, there's
oh
water
man,
everywhere.
God, I
You
don't want to get
live
into
in
a water rant again.
Northeast. Water is everywhere. You drink it in coffee. Come on.
Yes, I do drink
You
in
eat
coffee,
a
but I've been
32
drinking
ounce
a lot.
steak. There's plenty of water in there.
I've been drinking a lot more of it, and I already people are complimenting my skin just nonstop. They're just like, your skin looks amazing. Somebody
Yeah.
said it was dewy.
Active
Yeah,
munch.
it's a true story. No, it's just people who follow me online and don't realize I have like 7 filters on. Just kidding. I only use one. I use Oslo. It's not airbrushing. It's very basic. Everybody calm down. And I don't always use it. I have nice
Okay.
skin, Pete. Don't deny it. I have nice skin.
You know what? Here's
Anyway,
what I like. 2021, your priorities are right on track. Keep
so
going. Airbrush filter, water, air fryer for all the
being the
frying needs.
well, we don't have any of those. We don't have the air fryer. We don't
Why
have the
do you have an
service.
electric? Do you have a toaster oven? Can I
No,
ask you something? Do you do toaster or toaster oven? You've never.
toaster.
Oh, that's where you're going wrong.
Toaster
If,
oven is key, but we don't
if
have
you
one yet.
if you did a toaster oven, you would laugh in the face of the person who suggested an air fryer.
Well,
Why?
you know
Because
what?
I can't even remember the last time I used my oven. My oven's a joke. Toaster oven is the greatest invention that's ever happened, and I hope, and I'm pretty sure, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was invented right here in the U.S. of A.
America first, just
Yeah.
you and Trump. I think that you are being overly dismissive of the air fryer, and I think that when
Yes,
you do
yes,
a
I.
little more
That's
research, I
correct.
think you and your wife will probably
No,
be
I won't.
proponents of it.
I
We're
won't
gonna
do any
find
more
out.
research.
We're gonna get
I'm going to
sponsored
hold my
by.
opinion.
We're gonna
I'm
get
not going to do.
sponsored. We're gonna get sponsored by an air fryer. They're gonna send you one, and you're gonna love it.
You know what? You've mentioned air fryer so much, it's probably going to show up in the ads that now
Yep.
exist.
And you
Just
won't be able to resist.
yeah. Okay. Well,
So
good for you for making New Year's resolutions.
look, it may sound confusing, but tonight's episode is not about air fryers.
Wait, what?
It's actually about birth order, and this was
Birth
Pete's idea.
order.
Pete's
What
idea,
a garbage idea.
but
Whose idea was this?
your idea wasn't about how birth order affects our children. Your idea was about how birth order of ourselves affects the way we parent. And I was like, I'm a little skeptical about that one. We're going to get into it a little, but
Okay.
I said, let's make the birth order conversation a little broader and talk about how birth order affects our
Right.
kids, because I think that's definitely a thing.
That's correct. And
for
if
some
we
different
have
people.
3 kids, we all know which one is the best. So
Well, because this is the
you
question.
know what I'm talking about. 3 kidders out there.
Before we get into it, I do want to ask you one question. Where were you in the birth order in your family?
Straight mid. What?
3
Out of
kids
3.
through the middle?
Yeah, perfect. And I turned out fine. This hand, steady as a rock. This hand, though, a little gnarly.
Claw.
But yeah, the claw.
I was the baby of my family, and therefore, obviously, it's why I'm the best. And
We're left out.
we're gonna get into it right after this.
All right.
All right, we're gonna get into birth order tonight. We just found out that Pete was the middle kid, which is why you're always trying to get attention, because nobody notices you. Why you're
That's
not on
not
social
true.
media?
Look at me. I'm over here. Hey, everybody.
So I looked up before that. I want to remind everybody it is a new year. I want to remind everybody that you can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can listen on YouTube and comment on individual episodes there. We'd love it if you'd subscribe, tell your friends, leave a rating, leave a review anywhere you can. And if you want to throw some money at us, you can find us on Patreon and on Anchor. We even have a merch store, shop.spreadshirt.com. That's Dad and Buried on there. You can find, I think we have a mug on there.
We have a lot of stuff on there. Should you be so inclined, it's great.
If you need a new mug that you need to put your water in because you're abstaining like I am throughout the month of January.
Look at you with your mason jar. Is it? Did
It's
you
a
get issued?
Lagunitas.
Did
It's a
you get issued
Lagunitas.
that? Yeah, you got issued that.
It's a Lagunitas. It's
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
They sent me a
All right.
non-alcoholic beer in December. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah. Is that what? Are you drinking that?
No, I'm just drinking water out
No, I
here.
know, but did you save it or did you've
No, I
already
drank it immediately
plowed
to
through
try it.
all of them?
It was only they only sent me two.
Yeah. They only sent
I
me two
wish I still
cases.
had it.
They only sent me two cases. What am I gonna do? Oh.
I have a friend, not to make light of this, but I had a friend who quit drinking, and then because this dude was a functioning alcoholic, he quit drinking and then would literally like drink 2 cases of O'Doul's, like just to try to get a little something. I'm like, I don't think you're quite quitting there, my friend.
No, no, that's not good.
No, you're
No,
just
you got
addicted to non-alcoholic.
yeah, or just get into different drugs. It's
Well,
also a
he
way
did
to
that. He
go.
did that too. Yeah, he had some problems. He
Oh,
had some
well, good that
problems.
he's on the straight and narrow.
He is.
2021 has certainly been a great start to the year.
Hey, hasn't it? We're almost through. What is it, like the 20th?
Yeah, it's
Tomorrow's
the
the 20th.
20th of December.
So we're
No,
all, yeah. Well, I think it's March 3000th, 2020.
yeah,
It's
that's
been
right.
a really long. Basically, time stopped in March once the pandemic hit, and we've basically been trying to crawl ourselves out of hell.
Right.
Anyway, so tonight we're talking about birth order, and I got a lot of people. So the question I asked was, do you think birth order impacts children, and do you think birth order impacts the way parents parent their children? And pretty much all the responses were yes. And I got one interesting response from Notes from Gail. She says, as a psychologist, I can tell you both things are true. And I I'm totally on board with birth order affecting children,
Thank you,
but
Gail.
I don't think it's quite that simple.
Uh,
Um,
According to Gail, it kind of
well,
is.
according to Notes
So
from
I think
Gail,
we do case closed and see you
Gail
later.
is also a poet, so maybe let's not take her too seriously, okay?
Okay. You know what? Let's
So,
not go through our whole dark, sordid history. Okay. Let's
so,
just leave it on a high note.
so we're gonna start. We're gonna talk about the impact of birth order on children. We determined that you were a middle child, like Jan from the Brady Bunch, and
Yeah.
I am the baby.
Yeah.
I don't know who's
Yeah.
the best, like JFK.
No. What's the baby from the dinosaur show? Remember?
Not the mama, that thing.
Yeah, not the
Um,
mama.
so I looked up you know what? We're known for our research on the show. So minutes before we started recording, I Googled birth order characteristics. So for firstborns, it says they are reliable, conscientious, structured, cautious, controlling, and achievers. Neither of us are firstborn, so who cares? Middleborns, people pleasers, false when it comes to you. You've never pleased me once. Somewhat rebellious. The most rebellious thing you've ever done is wearing that pineapple shirt.
Yeah.
Thrives on friendships. Has
Well, Mike,
large
please.
social circle and
Oh, there we
peacemaker.
go.
And Peacemaker, starring George Clooney and Nicole Kidman. Have you ever seen that film, The
This is
Peacemaker?
me. This is like me and Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. Me, me,
Me.
me,
Me.
me.
Wow, yeah.
Oh my God.
I like it. Though we've added a fifth film to your list of films that you've seen. I Am Legend
I Am Legend 2, which is coming out soon. And
and Groundhog Day. And I can never remember the others. One of them is Not Enemy Mine. You haven't seen that one yet. Remember?
yeah.
Avatar. You loved
Yeah.
Avatar.
That was pretty 2020.
And the
Well,
youngest,
2021.
the traits of the youngest child are fun-loving. I am not fun-loving. Uncomplicated, manipulative, outgoing, attention seeker, and self-centered.
Oh,
So look,
interesting.
I I don't. So we're going to agree on a lot of this stuff, I think. So obviously, the where you land in your birth order
Yeah.
impacts, but it's not because you happened to be the third kid born in your family. It's because you were born into a family where there were already two kids. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. I wish we were closer because I would reach through the internet and then my little hand would come out and just slap not my little hand, not like Trump hands,
It's the tiny
big ass
little
hand. Yeah.
So,
And just slap you across the face because that was the
but
weirdest
this is
thing.
what I mean. So it's not like a genetic thing that like your body somehow knows what you were. It's the interactions that you have.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
but hold on. I got an interesting comment from somebody who said that they were adopted, but she thinks her comment was, and I don't have it in front of me because it came in late, so I didn't write it down. But she says she was the firstborn and then was adopted 5 months later into a family where there was an older sibling. So she was firstborn initially.
Yeah.
And she thinks she has the traits of a firstborn, even though she grew up as the youngest.
Well, hold on. How many months was she adopted? This is important.
At 5 months, I believe.
That's important.
Well, why?
That's important.
So she had 5 months of being the only show in town, the only game in town?
Yeah. Of like, oh my God, what did you, like, oh, the bouncy. You know, just normally when the third one shows up, you're like, well, I've got my wallet, I got my keys. Yeah, let's go to the park. Oh, God, I forgot. All right, hold on 1 second. We got to go get the third one. We got to get the little one. Yeah. And you're just like, where is the little one? Well, I put her down here somewhere.
But see, this is interesting, right? So you're saying the third kid gets neglected. But in a lot of families, the third kid is the so-called baby of the family, in that they're known as like they're the last one, so maybe they get doted on a little bit more and are more spoiled.
Okay.
Right? Yes. Contradictory things.
Two things. Well, let's go back to your list. One is they have to make more noise because they are the youngest, right? So
but it says in my research, that's what it says.
They have to make more noise because they're the ones that are fighting. They have to fight so hard
charmers
to get into the conversation, because nobody cares what a 4-year-old has to say when there's a 12 and a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? So that 4-year-old has to like really figure out like what's going on, which can actually be really annoying.
Because there's a lot of things. So this is parents.com, right? And I'm reading about the youngest child here. And there's a lot of things that are totally incorrect when it comes to me. It says lastborns generally aren't the strongest or the smartest in the room. False. I am the strongest and the smartest. So they develop their own ways of winning attention. They're natural charmers with an outgoing social personality. No surprise then that many famous actors and comedians are the baby of the family, or that they score higher in agreeableness on personality tests. No one in the world would say I'm agreeable. No. That is not something people would. So I don't.
What's the opposite of Bill Murray in Groundhog? No, not
so
me.
So here's something interesting. I have a brother who's 10 years older than me, right? Yep. And then so my parents had a kid, and then
you showed up.
No, then they went 7 years before having the middle kid, and then 3 years before me. So I feel like the dynamic is a little bit less than I'm the last of 3 and more like I'm the second of 2. And my other brother is like kind of on an island. He was his own thing for 7 years by himself. And then by the time we were around, he was kind of more self-sufficient and older, right?
Right. Well, so I mean, he was shaving.
Up the works.
He was shaving and driving cars and stuff. So
when he was 6.5.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because your family has a really long history of growing beards at an early age.
They sure do. They're very hairy.
Very hirsute. Very hirsute. Exactly.
So, but do you think that, how do you think being the middle child impacted you?
Well, I mean, I think there is an element of knowing it. You're not either, right? So you're not the oldest and you're not the youngest, but you have to deal with all the bullshit from the older, and most importantly, all the bullshit from the younger, who gets away with everything. Like, what the fuck? So anyway,
the younger does get away with more.
That's the key. So, and now the reason why the younger gets away with more is because, simply put, everyone is just too tired to give a shit about anything. Like, you want an ice cream cone? Okay, just fucking get an. Why do I give you an ice cream cone? Because I know it's not gonna like kill you, and I don't give a shit so much. But my oldest comes in and is like, "Can I have an ice cream?" What'd you just say to me? You want a goddamn ice cream cone?
That's a good point. So _ Mackenzie Sullivan says they wear you down the more you have. You have less fight by the last one, which is the point you're making. You have 3 kids, you're just kind of like, whatever. Yeah. Also, you're less precious about them, right? You have the first kid, you're super nervous. It's your first time having a kid. You're like, I got to do everything right. I got to protect them. The second kid, you're like, oh, I know what works, what doesn't. The third kid, you're just like, oh, this kid's going to survive no matter what. It almost doesn't matter what I do. Who
Exactly.
cares?
And
right?
my favorite part about the first kid is you're super nervous, you don't care, and then all of a sudden they start becoming nervous back, and you're like, stop being so fucking nervous. Yeah. And then they're like, no, you stop being so fucking nervous. And then you're like, no, you shut up. And then they're like, no, you shut up. I'll see you in court.
But is this the Gary Coleman family?
I'm assuming my oldest is going to eventually take me to court.
So I did want to ask you,
because she's in mergers acquisitions.
Somebody sent me a screenshot and said that they were reading something and said mergers and acquisitions in it, and she said this reminded me of the podcast.
Yes. No, my eldest daughter is so much smarter than everyone in this family.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard and frustrating. And no, sorry, those are two the wrong way. Annoying. It's very annoying.
I wanted to ask,
annoying.
So you are the middle of three kids. You had three kids in your own family, and now you have three kids of your own. And how do you see the dynamics playing out with your kids? Their personalities, are they being shaped by their birth order?
They are, largely because I have a game called Which Order is the Best Birth Order, and we play it every day. And largely, my eldest daughter wins, and I go, see, and then she turns it against me, and I go, no, that's not what I meant. No, I'm just joking.
You weaponize parenting.
I do like to weaponize parenting. It is a wonderful trait that I have. I do definitely see a distinct difference between the three kids, and there's nothing else to say other than I enjoy different aspects of each. You know what I mean? Like I look at my middle kid and I go, I'm gonna keep that. Let's forget I said that, okay? But I look at my middle kid and I'm like, oh, I'm totally there with you, man. I get it. God, everyone is a dick. You're right. But here's the thing. You got to get strong or you're going to get chewed up in this world. And she's like, yeah, but Dad, you're the one that I'm really annoyed at.
I want to get into something that you just said there, but before we do, because that's more about the parenting, right? I want to talk a little bit more about what some of our listeners said about the birth order of kids. So Gwen K. Liner says that her second kid is more independent and self-reliant. So I have two kids, and I would say that is pretty true. But the thing is it's not just because he's a second kid. He's learning stuff from the older kid, right?
Oh, so he
doesn't have to rely on us as much. He can rely on his older brother. He's learning he's learning what and what not to do when he sees what an older brother does and doesn't get away with and that kind of stuff. KMS912 says 100% she sees the birth order have an impact. The oldest kid comes with so many responsibilities, much more than those other spoiled children.
I like this.
So obviously the older kid gets more responsibilities. That's just the way it is. Because the older kid can do more. So obviously the firstborn is going to have more responsibilities. It's not because they're better. It's just because they're older and are more capable of certain things.
I don't know. I don't know actually. So we have great friends that have three kids that are the same age, have kids the same age, different gender. But what's interesting is their middle child is much more intense than their. You would think that their firstborn was
the intense
no. You would think their firstborn was their last child, like just super chill, like hey sure what, and is a guy. He's like oh yeah sure whatever cool. Their middle child is like why don't we like everything is super specific, has to be on time, this, that, and that, and it's great.
Control freak.
Yeah, and really is wound a little tighter than others. Yeah. So like much more like my older kid, who is very similar to that.
So that's really
interesting.
because Betty Gullo says my older son is a rule follower, hard on himself, anxious at times. Like that's what you would expect maybe from the older kid, and they're getting it from their middle kid. Wonder why?
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't know.
It's because it's not all about birth order. Maybe some personality is just what you're born with. Did you see the movie Soul on Pixar? It was for
My
free
God,
over the
so
Christmas
good.
break. It just
That
came out.
we really needed that
It was
movie.
the great before, and that's where people get their personalities, not based on their birth order.
We really needed that.
Maybe it's because your astrological sign has a bigger impact. Was Mercury in retrograde when their middle kid was born? Because that might explain. Do you believe in any of that stuff?
I do not believe in astrology
Me either.
even in the slightest, but I am in the minority, I believe, because there are a lot of people out there who
You really
believe.
think more than 50% of the country or the world believes in astrology? I guess probably.
You know what's really interesting is there are a lot of youngsters out there that are super into astrology.
They believe in BuzzFeed quizzes. That's how they determine their personalities.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a big movement out there regarding astrology. But I just think that so what is also interesting is one being of a certain order. How do you parent a kids in a certain order?
Well, so this was something else that.
So how is your relationship to your youngest kid?
Well, hold on. So this is something that Notes from Gale said. The psychologist Notes from Gale said that when it comes to parenting, if the parent is an older child, he or she will identify with the older child. And same thing if they were the youngest, whatever. Right. And I'm like, but I mean, you can say that about anything. Like my youngest has brown hair, and so do I. So therefore, I am more sympathetic to him because we both have the brown. I'm just saying that was a bad.
Everyone in your family has brown hair, including
Look, man,
your wife.
That's not the point. The point is, like, it's not just based on that. So yes, like I only have 2 kids, and I was in a family of 3, right? So already the dynamic is different, even though
you have immense guilt,
and my youngest is the youngest, but it's more situational, right? So if I see like my youngest kid get bullied, and I remember being bullied, I can relate to him on that level. It's not like if my oldest kid gets bullied, I don't relate to him just because I wasn't the oldest kid. You know what I mean? It's situational, Pete. It's not just based on. I'm not more aligned with my youngest.
Well, what's interesting is it's probably much more rare to see your eldest kid get bullied, because that would mean they would have to be bullied by someone else, like an external person.
Well, sure.
Versus the internal bullying that happens on a daily basis of the kid, sibling bullying, where your youngest kid like grabs a toy that your kid hasn't played with in like 6 years, and all of a sudden becomes that's my only toy that I've ever loved, and you're like, dude, constantly. Like, yeah, exactly. And that kind of stuff you mitigate. Now, here's what I've seen my youngest take on some of the behavior characteristics of my older kid that are not good, that are very aggressive and sharp. And I'm like, you were on the receiving end of that, and now you're doing it to him. Yes. What like, come on, you can stop. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can stop it. She comes back with a very good response of, yeah, but he's so annoying. And I'm like, look, in a court of law, I completely hear you, and you'd be justified. But just don't like, just don't like put your feet on him. That's all.
But she wants to be in charge now, because that's the thing. She has been treated like trash for so long, and now she has an opportunity to do it and to be the lord of the manor.
Yes, and so there's a little bit of I try not to over police too much. I kind of let them sort it out as much as possible. Yeah. By the way, my 6-year-old son is the same size as my 10-year-old daughter. His like hands are like twice the size. Yeah. He just but she's so much smarter than he is that she can get into situation. Immediately he's succumbed by some move that she's done on him, So anyway, it just all works out, I feel like.
This sounds like a very
Trial by
fearful
combat?
bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial by combat
It's like a UFC.
in my household.
It's like the octagon when you walk inside your house.
It is. It's too much, and we're trying to figure it out. Yeah.
So, were you and your wife? Was she also a middle child? Was she the youngest? Was she the oldest?
She was not. She was the oldest. She was the oldest.
Do you find yourselves having different parenting styles because of that?
Mike, I think you'll remember episode 24.
Titled
Parenting Styles. Different parenting styles. Where we talked about just this thing. I don't have no idea what the episode number is.
But I know. But
yes is the answer. Yes is the answer. 100%. We have totally different parenting.
Yes,
not totally different parenting,
but look,
different.
Obviously, like everybody has, it's important to get on the same page, parenting style wise, at least in general with your spouse or your partner. But a lot of people have different parenting styles. It's not necessarily because they were born in a different order, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't necessarily ascribe to this.
You know what's interesting is the phrase "you were born in a different order" is used a lot in my household. you were born in a different order.
You guys have an argument about how to discipline one of the kids. She's like, "You don't understand. You were born in a different order.
Get out of here. You were born. Get out of here, older."
So SWeld87 says she has a hard time telling whether the birth order of she and her ex-husband impacts their parenting, but she does know they have very different styles. She just doesn't know if that's the cause. And this is what I'm saying, right? So there's a million.
Is it what you're saying?
Might have a different style. I don't think this birth order thing has much to do, aside from the fact that maybe you feel a little bit more sympathetic to the youngest kid if you were the youngest kid, because there will be situations where you can tell this is happening because that's what happens to youngest kids.
Yes.
Or if you were the oldest and you're like, the oldest kid has more responsibility and gets sick of it, and I remember that. Whatever. Yeah. That can happen in a million different situations. That's just the way it goes. It's not like it happens more based on birth order shit. I just think it's stupid, Pete.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think there's more to do with there is definitely something to do with compromise. There's something more to do with letting things just obviously personality plays a huge part in this, which is informed by who you grew up with and what order you grew up with. Yeah. But the point is that the shit rolling downhill, right? The bigger kid wails on the younger kid, and the younger kid wails on whatever else is smaller than that kid. Like that is a natural order of things, right? And you try not to disrupt that. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, all you're trying to do is make sure that doesn't get out of hand, but at the same time, you're seeing things like the way that my middle kid can interoperate between the older and the younger is different from the younger. It's and so to that end, I have a different way that I
do think that birth order, just your place on the food chain within your house basically can impact your personality. But some 20, 30 years down the line, there are so many things that have shaped your personality. Sure, that's part of it, that I just don't know how big a role that plays.
All right, let me ask you this. Your older brothers, are they louder or are they younger? Are they louder spoken or softer spoken than you are?
The oldest is definitely softer spoken. I would say the middle and I are pretty similar.
Exactly.
In terms of that.
Right. So you've carried on your you're essentially your intense. Like when you address someone, you're just addressing them in an intense way. That was probably
me.
Yeah. You. What do you mean? You started a fucking podcast and a blog based on that.
World renowned.
Okay. It's on the internet.
Australia loves me. Western Australia, Perth. I was on a radio station in Perth.
And I bet you they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten.
So look, obviously there's some things that you learn from right? You learn from the situation growing up. So whether it's inherent or it's just the way you adapt. So SH Megs, MEGGS 85 says she was kid 5 out of 6, and she thinks that has helped her as a parent be a lot more laid back, right? Because she
Totally.
remembers kind of growing up in
Yeah.
a big household full of 5 or 6 kids where she's probably pretty nonplussed by a lot of the stuff that goes on now as a parent. Like she's seen it all from a
Yeah.
different perspective. But sure, I can see something like that impacting your parenting. I just don't know, probably the fact that she's an Aries, and when the Mercury was in
Wow.
retrograde by
Yeah.
5 degrees, played just as big a part.
I mean, I'm, am I laid back? I am laid back up until, but here's the thing. I'm laid back except for I'm up every morning, every single morning, doing lunches, getting everybody ready. And the only thing is that I just, if it's not, it's the same thing every day. And so if someone's not doing something, I get on their case. But I'm consistent about it. I'm like, there's like a consistent modality to me.
But do you
Otherwise,
think that
I don't like, I am pretty like, I don't really care, like I care that they get out. I care that there's, my wife on the other hand is like, how many hours were they out today? I'm like, I don't know. It's like,
and you
there's a
think
different
that's because
perspective.
she was the oldest and you were the middle?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Yeah, right. So
I do.
Hassenhouse says, my husband and I are both the oldest, but as parents, he's calm and cool, and I'm a heated psycho, she says. So how do you explain
Ah.
that? Differences in parenting style, even though they're both oldest kids, Pete.
Well, first of all, Hassan House has the presence of mind to understand how dynamics work, and obviously, you know,
Good cop, bad cop.
yeah, exactly. And she knows. Um, I don't know. I think it can be different. I mean, look,
Amy Langlaise says that she's the oldest, so she expects the same/best from all the kids, but her husband was the youngest, so he's more forgiving.
yes, for
I'm
sure.
not. I was the youngest. I'm less forgiving than my wife. Your
Well,
theory is
well,
being obliterated.
okay. What was your wife?
She was the second of five, so she's second
Oh,
oldest.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And okay,
Yeah.
all
Where's
right.
your theory now, big man?
You know
Where's
what?
notes from Gail's theory? Where's notes from Gail's
Oh my
theory?
God. You know what?
I'm just
Notes,
shredding.
trust me, notes from Gail. She just is going to be like, we found one. We
No,
found an anomaly.
imagine if there was an actual psychologist, that she's a psychologist, if she was on here with us, she would just be like shredding. I'm just yelling
I
at you.
know.
We have no research. We don't know what we're talking about.
We
We're
have
just
no idea.
babbling. If she was on here, she would shit all over me and I would
Yes.
deserve it.
That's
So
gross.
one thing we didn't talk about, hold on, let me see if there are any more interesting comments that we wanted to check out, because there's one other category I want to get into, which we haven't discussed at all, which could potentially be, I don't know if this was ever a topic. I wanted to talk a little bit about only children. But before we get into that, SWeld87, again, poking holes in your theory, she says, my sister and I have very different parenting styles and styles as spouses. They were raised in the same house by the same two parents, but are vastly different in all ways. So maybe that's because they have different birth orders. Obviously, they're siblings.
Well,
They couldn't have been born at the same
what
time.
are their parenting styles?
She says, one example of our parenting differences is that she takes her kids to the doctors over any little thing, whereas I'm like, are you bleeding, puking, or feverish? No? Then
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does that mean? If you had to guess, is SWeld87 the older,
She's the
the
older.
younger, the middle?
She's the older. Yeah, the one who's taking your kid to the doctor all the time is definitely the older.
You think?
I mean, well, I don't know. I
It doesn't say. I'll
personally,
have to check.
personally, it's like you hurt your arm, for example. If it hurts in 7 hours, we'll
Yeah.
go to the hospital.
There's a difference
Like
between
I'm
being
not
hurt and
gonna
injured.
stop. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like, I'm not gonna stop drinking just because your goddamn arm hurt. No, I'm. Part of it is reactionary. It's your reaction to your kid. As we all know, your kid falls. Your reaction to them falling is a big tell for them to decide whether they're going to start
Yes.
freaking out or
I
not.
wrote about this
So
recently. Yeah.
recently, what are you talking? Like your kid falls from a ladder on the playground, and there's you've seen it. You just like you don't do anything. The
Yeah.
kid just gets up and is like, okay, fine, and gets back up the ladder. Versus you run over to them and is like, are you okay? And start doing chest compressions. The kid's gonna be like, I don't know, I'm not okay, and start.
Okay, but are you running over to you? Is her sister taking her kids to the
Because
doctor
she's
over?
yes,
Listen to me.
because she
Listen to
is the
me.
first goddamn born child of that fucking
But hold
family.
on, hold on. Is she taking the kid to the doctor over every little thing because the mom herself was the firstborn, or because the kid is the firstborn?
Both.
This is some goddamn bullshit. I still contend it has more to do with astrological signs.
God, this might be the weakest podcast theory.
Yours is the weak one,
I
my man.
know. Well, guess what? That's because I'm a middle. I was just trying to please you. I didn't know
Look at
what else
you.
to say. I
Wow.
was trying to break the.
You threw
Oh,
yourself under the bus to
did
prove
I?
your own theory.
Or did I make comedy gold?
Did you? I guess
Yeah.
we'll have to check. So one thing we didn't
So,
talk about was only child. Right. So one interesting comment was A.E. Palango says that her husband is an only child and he has no concept of normal sibling rivalry. Can't handle
I'm
it at all.
sorry. A.E. Palongo or
A.E.
A?
Palango.
Okay, not A.G. Palongo.
Who's
I
A.G.
okay, then I
Palango?
knew someone. I used to date someone called A.G. Palongo, but A.E. Palongo,
I hope maybe I typed it wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe they
No.
changed
Anyway,
their initials. Maybe
A.E. Palongo, let's hear what you have to say.
she says, my husband is an only child and has no concept of normal sibling rivalry. He can't handle it at all. So he's in a house, presumably with several children. And I guess like when they argue and go at each other,
Yeah.
which is just
Yeah.
normal, and it happens constantly. It happened when
Yes.
I was a kid with my
Right.
siblings, happened with you and yours. It happens
Right.
with our own kids and their siblings.
Right.
He probably thinks this is like, he's like, my kids, what's going on with my kids? They're so violent, they hate each other. When in reality, it's pretty normal. I do think that's pretty interesting to kind of be confused by that or like thrown off by it because you didn't experience it.
Well, I mean, that's actually a good one. I mean, I said it before about the kids wrestling. That's going to happen. Like just
Oh
constant
yeah.
conflict. Kids are they're it's like they're magnets that get just flipped from north south. Like they either want to be completely together and like have sleepovers and like just do
Yes.
like be together for all time, and then exactly 8 minutes later, like no, like they're just like punching each other and like rustling on the ground and rolling around, and it's like this is you in a lot of cases you just have to let it you got to
So
let it play out.
so in that case, the only child does not understand the dynamics of sibling rivalry. But in this case, Zakatouille, Zakatouille, says
Also
she
dated.
says she also did it. Says she is an only child, or he. I'm sorry, he is an only child, and
Also dated.
his wife was the youngest, but he lets the kids wrestle and goof around more.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
There's no exactly with this. You just keep saying every time I read a comment, you're like, "Yep, prove my point again." When in fact, you have no point. Nothing's
I've
been.
learned everything I need to know from social media.
Shan Boo Boo
Exactly.
says, I'm an only child parenting an only child, and my husband has a sibling and sees things different. Again, we all have different perspectives based on our backgrounds and stuff. I just don't believe that where you were in the birth order affects your parenting that much. I do agree that where your children are in the birth order impacts their personalities just because the dynamics shift. Everything is different about not everything, but a lot of stuff is different about the way that they're raised by their parents based on whether they're the first kid that was born and they had undivided attention for a few years and then had to adjust as new kids were born, or whether they were the last kid who never got undivided attention and gets a slice of the pie, the third slice of the pie, and has to figure out how that works. And yeah, it obviously impacts whether you're fighting for attention or not, whether you're a cut up, whether you're super agreeable and charming like me and are famous in Australia, or whether you're an overlooked middle child that no one cares about and has no online presence like you.
Yeah, it has two names, Pete and Peter.
Yeah, those
So
two What amazing names.
I think we can all agree those are amazing names. Well, Mike, you've once again lost this debate. I'm sorry that it had to come to this.
One of these, we're gonna have. You know what? Next episode, we're gonna bring on a couple of psychologists, and we're gonna tear it up.
Well, I mean, I really do have to go back to notes from
Notes from Gail.
From Gail, Gmail. From Gail.
Gmail.
Both things are true. Is the first sentence that she writes.
She said birth she has order on it, and I was like, I'm not going to read those.
Birth order affects. It affects. I mean, let's recap. Let's recap, shall we? The birth order of your children is important. We know that. It's going to affect their personality. Okay, you said it. I've said it. We've both said it. Okay? Second, yes. Notes from Gail, as a psychologist, says both things are true, meaning parents' birth order affects how they parent. Boom. That's the first hardcore piece of evidence in my court. 2, second of all, I kind of can't forget. I forget what my second point is, but there we go. Different parenting styles. So you're going to have different parenting styles of some are going to be more uptight, some are going to be less uptight, or whatever the case may be, more lax. I don't know.
There's no way to determine which aspect of your personality or whatever is the part that is impacting your different parenting styles. And there's no way to point at that, aside from the fact that you sometimes relate more to the kid who was born in the same order that you were born in, which is why you're always yelling at your wife, you were born in a different order.
I go, first order, wrong order.
Aside from the fact that you relate to that kid in certain situations more, there's no way to determine why, if your parenting style is different. Look, I haven't read Notes from Gail's dissertation on it. I will reach out to her, and next episode will be me reading her dissertation on birth order, word for word. It will be 7 hours long, and at the end of it, one of us will be correct.
There is a sense, though, the term middle in my family exists, and I've used it as middle to middle. Also, my wife uses it. She's like, "You're a middle." She goes, "You're a middle. Talk to her." And I'm like, "What does that mean?"
That happens?
Yeah, you're a middle. Go talk to her. Well, what? Hey, well, what's going on? Yeah, you don't like your younger brother? Yeah, I know.
This is incredible.
Trust me.
Hold on. I can't believe you haven't mentioned this at all. Your wife actually calls out the fact that, hey, you're a middle like her, so go deal with it.
Get in there. Go get in like a tunnel rat. Like Forrest Gump to a tunnel rat, like how he was like getting that hole. Me? But I was just, I don't know what's happening.
But hold on. Not only does she call you out and say that to you, and you didn't mention that yet, but then when you do mention it, you admit that you're like, why should that make a difference?
Yeah. Well, that's only because
the entire premise.
That's only because it's more effort on my part, but I do whenever I get in there, it does seem to be, well, 2 things. One is I can talk to my kid and I'm like, I had an older brother and I had a younger sister and God, it was really annoying. And she'll be like, I know, but he's so annoying, you don't even understand. I'm like, I trust me.
I understand.
I know. Look at me. And she's like, you know what? It's enough. You've said enough. You're the greatest, and I'm not just saying this, she'll say this, you are the greatest dad anyone has ever had. And I'll be like, honestly, that sounds like you're making it up for some sort of podcast that will never really be, and then no one will know about. She's like, no.
Western Australia knows.
I need you. Yeah, she goes, the good people of Perth, they all know. Right. And I say, God damn, you're the best kid ever. And she's like, yeah, I know. You know why?
What a love
middle forever. And we interlock our fingers, and that's about it. And then we let
the middle mind meld. The middle. So see, I'm at a loss here because I was the youngest of 3, and I only have 2, so I can't relate to either of my kids. Sorry, guys. We have
So
nothing in common.
there's no way anyone
Just
can bring in reinforcements.
every once in a while, I say to him, I'm like, yeah, I know what it's like to have brown hair because I also have brown hair. And that's how, you know what? That's how we relate.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know what, buddy? I also have brown eyes. I get why you're crying. What?
Well, once again, Pete, I think we crushed this topic with zero preparation and zero research. And quite
There's
honestly,
no way you could tell.
no real actual facts to lean on aside from a couple that I read at the beginning. And
But this is a podcast after all, so.
that's true. So nobody's expecting facts.
But we did have notes from Gail.
We did have notes from Gail. I'm going to let her know.
Crushed it.
I'm going to let her know that we talked a lot about her, and send me that dissertation or thesis or whatever it's called. I don't know what she's doing. And you know what? Maybe we'll follow up. Maybe we'll follow up and we'll see who won Thunder. We'll do Thunderdome, me and Pete.
Yeah. Two dads enter.
One dad leaves.
3 dads leave? What is this Thunderdome? Okay.
Well, it was. You know what? I'm glad you suggested the topic, even though you lost your own debate.
Well, Mike, you once again out-debated me with your, I don't know, I guess it's your charisma.
Well, you know what?
Your unwavering attention to detail, your ability to interject and interrupt at any moment, and just your general loveliness. That's it.
Oh, thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Very middle child of you to say something.
Exactly.
And
by the way, all the middle childs out there, it's coming. We're gonna unite.
The storm is coming. The storm is coming.
No, you know what? Don't even fucking say that.
Too late.
Fuck all of those people, and let's just unite in harmony, and let's be better parents. Is that possible?
You know what, Pete? Let's be better people. Let's be better people.
Really, 2021, please, God, we can't let this shit happen anymore.
It's Inauguration Eve. Hopefully, by the time people listen to this, we'll have a seamless and peaceful transition of power. And for our next episode, it will either be Pete or my lovely wife, Mom and Buried, discussing something else that I will blow out of the water with my superior intellect and my charm and agreeableness that comes with being the youngest.
There we go.
In the meantime, you can get us on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Watch us on YouTube. Throw some money at us on Patreon or Anchor. And you know what? Take care of yourselves.
And you know what? We love you, dear listener.
Most of you. I don't like any older kids though. They were mean to me.
Good call.
Older siblings.
Good call. By the way, you were totally justified in not liking Mike. Okay, everybody. Next week.
Peace.
Bye.
I don't know why you would still be watching This Isn't a Marvel Movie, no matter how much I look like Paul Rudd, which you can deny it all you want. It's there in the eyes, I think. I'm young looking like him. If you enjoyed the podcast, which you obviously did or you wouldn't be listening still, sign up on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to. Comment here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We want to hear from you. Comments, questions, dirty jokes, money, all the money you can give us. We'd love it all. Catch you next time.